Hello again. Welcome back to the Flyin Style podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Steven Masley.
What is up, guys? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we're back 9-1 this week, back with another win. Eagles back on track a bit. A little bit of a tough week, but they did come out with a W through some adversity, so it's hard to be too angry. But I want to hear your thoughts, Matt, because I know you weren't too happy about it during the game.
So during the game, I thought this was the end of the world that we're not playing to our best ability, especially on offense. And after the first drive, I think I texted Matt Mitchell, I want to do something bad to myself and hurt myself really bad. Because this team, the first drive, Jonathan Taylor ran for 43 yards and went right down the field and got a touchdown on us. And I was like, uh-oh. Like, we added Sue and Lindell Joseph, and they've done nothing. They're in there, but they're not doing anything. But the rest of the game, the defensive side smoothed out for me. However, the offensive side, I'm a little bit concerned about the play calling still. And I think that'll be adjusted this week, just like how they adjusted to the run defense throughout the rest of the game. And I'm not as angry as I was. And we're still going to address the concerns that we have, but we still got the dub, and I can't be mad. I know you were trying to talk me down the entire game, and if you saw me after, I was not being rational whatsoever. However,
you should have heard this guy. He was going through the roof. He was saying sell the team. He was out here giving up every lick of hope he ever had. But I'm not going to blame you though, because a lot of Eagles fans have been feeling that way. Obviously, when you see a team go 8-0 and then see 3 generally worse weeks in a row, it makes you start questioning whether it's whether it was real or not. But with this team, I really don't think that's the case. I think I've told you before that I think this team is one of the most talented in the league. I'll keep reiterating it. And on that fact alone, I think that this team has a talented enough team to make it to the Super Bowl. And I don't think that changed off of playing 3 bad weeks. Nobody's really giving any credit to the other teams being allowed to have bad weeks. The Bills have had bad weeks. The Chiefs have had bad weeks. The Cowboys have had bad weeks. The Vikings have had bad weeks. But when the Eagles do it, for some reason, everybody, including Eagles fans themselves, seem to think, oh, it's the end of the season. They're not winning anything. Everybody has to slow their roll with the way they're feeling this year. Like, everybody's getting way too high and low. Like, there needs to be a middle ground at some point. Like, did we really think we were going undefeated? I don't think anyone really thought that, but I think people started getting some hopes about it because we had an easy schedule. And I just don't, I don't think that, I've said it before that any team in the league can beat any other team in the league, no matter if they're a 0-win team versus an undefeated team or not, Every team in the league is good to some extent. You can't walk in and just assume that it's going to be a patty cake show and you're just going to walk out of there with a dominant win, But a win's a win to me, They came out with a tough battle through adversity for the win, and I couldn't be, I could be happier about it, but I think that people should be happy seeing them overcome some adversity for once, because we didn't see a lot of it at the beginning of the year.
No, I completely agree, and I've been a fan for my entire life, and I've seen this team go through really bad seasons. I've been happy for the little wins. It's just something about going 8-0 to start. Just something clicked in my brain as a fan that I just wasn't. I dropped all logic, and I was like, well, if they play bad, it's just I just too much into my own head, and a lot of Eagles fans did, and some of you probably listened to it, and it's not bad to have a bad game, and even you said other team schedules, they lose. But it was just, to me, the fact that we still aren't performing to our fullest potential that I see is the only thing that I'm upset about. Because I know we can do better. And that's the only thing that's hurting me. And that's not a bad thing, because I think personally, if I'm not trying to be unbiased, I think we had the best roster in the league from every position, if you're going from average. And I just think we have the best roster in the league. And so, based on that, I think we should be the best team in the league, which we are. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to see us perform like the best team in the league and the best team we can be every week.
I agree. I think it hurt a lot of people to see that we may still be the best team in the league, but now there's questions. Before, we were looking at it and everybody could say definitively, oh, we're 8-0, How are they better? I haven't seen it yet. Now that we've seen a few bad weeks from the Eagles, now everybody's questioning. But I still think they are the best team in the league. I think that they have the best record. They have the best roster. And when they're playing their best, they are the best team. Right now, they are not playing their best, which is part of playing a football season. There are going to be highs and lows. There are going to be points where you're playing your best and points where you're playing your worst. Like, that will always be a thing. And right now, we're in a bit of a slump, and the team needs to wake up. We went the whole 8 weeks without having a turnover, and since then, we've had 5.
Yeah.
Or we had 2 turnovers, sorry, not without having a turnover. We had 2 turnovers through 8 weeks, and now we have 5 through the past 3. So that's one of the biggest things we had to fix. You can obviously look back and say, without those turnovers, we're winning the Washington game as well, and we're still undefeated. If you take away those turnovers, obviously you can't. That's part of the game. You have to hold on to the ball. Mm-hmm. But it's stupid mistakes. It's not. You're not seeing a decrease in the level of play from the team. They're just making stupid mistakes at bad times.
Honestly, I actually do. I do see a level of decrease in. I don't know what the coaches are doing. The offensive side of the ball. I see our defense stepping up and playing well. But this game, my only concern coming out of this game is how our game plan for it. And
that's different. You see, the game plan is very different from the level of play that the team's playing at. And I don't see the players, falling off. I'm not seeing players starting to take plays off, getting tired, getting hurt. Obviously AJ Brown got a little bumped up the other day, and we haven't seen a whole lot of him since then. So I hope it's nothing too serious. But I think that the 2 biggest things with this team right now are A, the turnovers, and B, the play calling. And they could be 1A and 1B, because the play calling has been my problem the entire season, as you've heard on this podcast. And for some reason it's been getting worse than it was before. So I don't know what the problem is with that, but if you want to jump into that, add some of your thoughts into that.
So I think it was the second drive that we had. We go down the field, basically into their zone. Was it no, it wasn't that drive. But the one drive we had where we got 3 penalties in a row, you could tell that we were missing Goddard. And it just really hurt me that I don't know if it was a lack of preparation or a lack of experience for these guys coming in, but you could just tell that there was a couple penalties on them, and then there's a couple miscues on the line, and we basically got sent back. I think we had a 3rd and 30 at some point. It was just ridiculous, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact we still don't establish the run until Hurts at the end running was just like, I don't know what the defense didn't adjust for the Colts, and I'm not getting into because I don't care what they do, because Hurts played great. Hurts put the team on his back at the end, but I just didn't understand exactly the play calling, and I saw that missing Goddard kind of threw us off a little bit too much. I don't know how to phrase it, but I felt like it hurt us more than it should.
Well, to me, I think that you're right. Losing a guy like Goddard, no matter what, is going to hurt, because not only is he a passing threat, but he's also a blocking threat. He's a very good blocker. So that's going to hurt in the run game, of course. But I think where you saw Goddard, his impact be the most, missing from the game was in the red zone. The red zone is where it was missing the most, because when you've got a complete tight end like Goddard in the game, you can run any play involving him. Any play works for him. Like, the entire playbook is open. But you put a guy like Jack Stoll in, who, isn't really the best at either of those things, or you put in, I forget what the other guy's name, to be completely honest. I don't know. But either way, you put those guys in, now the playbook's a little more limited, because those guys cannot do the same things that Goddard could. And that's where, you start to notice that start to hurt in the red zone. But my biggest problem with the offense was, like you said, the play calling. We're going to stick in that category. It was incredibly frustrating to see them. They wouldn't use the run game the right way. They would pass the ball on 1st and 2nd down, and then try to run the ball on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. And it would be like, what the heck are you doing? And it causes quick turnarounds, 1, 2, 3 outs. And it's infuriating. Run the ball on 1st down, run a play action or a run again on 2nd down. And if you don't have the yards, probably pass on 3rd. Or if you're close enough, then maybe run the ball. But like the Eagles have always had a bad pattern of moving away from the run game if they don't establish it early and often. And in the beginning of the game, the first like 2 or 3 drives, Miles Sanders had like 2 carries. So
and that's been consistent in the last 2, and there's been a reason
exactly.
we lost. I just don't get that.
You see, yeah, it's pretty obvious that in the games that we haven't been winning and our offense has felt stagnant have been the 2 games that Miles Sanders had his worst game of his season. And it's not Miles Sanders' fault. They're not giving him the ball in the right situations. Every time they do give him the ball, they do it on like a 3rd and 4 where he's, like he's got to fight for it, or a 3rd and 2 where they know the run's coming. And it's just infuriating to see the play calling not change and move away from the run. And I'm sick of all the stupid option plays. Teams are catching on. We run too much of it. Option plays are fine, but they're meant to be tricky. If you use your entire playbook as options, it's not tricky anymore.
Yeah.
And, like they just need to move away from it, at least to an extent, and start using it in a more sneaky way and start using the run game to set up the play action passes and, use our playbook to its fullest extent. We're using it in a one-dimensional pattern, and it's not going to keep working that way.
It's not. And it's like annoying. It's very, I think the word is annoying to watch. Like you just said, it's just like aggravating because you could go out there and you think you can call it like, it just makes a little bit too much sense. Can I put it that way? Like we had the best O-line in the league, established a run, and I would like to see us throw the ball downfield a little bit more. I know AJ Brown had that like 29-yard reception, but is that when he fumbled it? Or no, that was.
I can't remember if sometimes I mix together games. Honestly, I forget. Did he fumble in this game or was it last game? I think it was this game, right?
He did fumble in this game.
Yes, then yeah, it was that one then. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he fumbled. Yeah, that was Goddard in the last one. But nonetheless, I just want to see us throw the ball down the field more. I want to see us establish the run, and I want to see us just our offense just like from week. If you go to the Vikings game, that second quarter, that offense does not look anything the same as this one. It just like weird to me. I know you can give some credit to the Colts defense; they had a good defense, but Darius, I keep saying, I was about to say Darius, his name's Shaq now, is out. Like, that's their best linebacker. I know they have Gilmore on the outside, and they have a couple, like, good, their defense isn't horrible, but I just want to see us, it just doesn't make any sense not to establish the run, especially for our O-line, especially Miles.
Their team isn't as terrible as we like to think, before we get to play them. Obviously, once you play a team and you get to watch them play, you start to have different feelings about them as a team. Their defense isn't terrible. They have a few players, but they also have a few holes. They have a good D line. They've got some good linebackers, even though Shaq was out, and they've got a decent secondary. And on the offensive side of the ball, their offense is a little bit, dysfunctional, but Matt Ryan is a veteran. He's been there for a long time. He knows how to make the smart plays. You got Jonathan Taylor. You've got decent wide receivers over there. Like, they're not a terrible team. They're just dysfunctional right now.
And because of the new coach.
A lot of people expected them to be like a 9-10 win team this year.
Yeah, I expect them to be a better team than the Titans, to be honest.
So, like, obviously going off of the way the season has trended, you can say, yeah, they're a bad team. But in terms of their actual, like, talent and roster on paper, they're not that bad. They're like a middle-tier team. And they did what they were supposed to do. They came in, read the game plan off of the 2 past weeks where the Eagles have struggled, ran the ball. And obviously, in the beginning of the game, I think that we struggled with it because, you had Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh in there. They had 1 day of practice after not playing for like over a year. So the fact that they were even in there was insane enough to me. But they started off slow, which I think is fair. And then by the second half, they were making a big difference in the run game. By the end of the game, they only finished with 99 rushing yards, and on the first drive, I think they had like 50 or 60.
Yeah, it was nice to see, and I have to give so much credit to the defense for actually stepping up, especially after that first drive. Because think about it, we get 3 field goals after that drive, and one was because of a turnover.
Yep.
But we put them in that position. But a stat that I heard about Linval Joseph, you're talking about him sitting on the couch. He played like 42, 43% of the snaps. That's like crazy to me. I didn't realize that. heard on ESPN.
It's impressive what they've done. Like to just come in here and just play at a high level again.
Like they've been good in the past. Obviously, they like Sue's gonna be I think he might be a Hall of Famer, and Linval Joseph's been fantastic, all pros. But it's just the fact that they came in, were able to just step up for us. It was great, and I think our entire defense played very well. So I have to give them credit. They haven't. And
before you go too far, though, I want to step in and say one thing. Our defense did play pretty well, but there was one thing that I wanted to point out that we talked about how Dallas Goedert was a big impact on losing him in the offense, but I think a bigger impact in loss was our loss of Avonte Maddox, and I think we've seen it in the past 2 weeks, and I think it's underratedly not spoken about. Like I saw Josiah Scott give up maybe 60, 70, maybe 80 yards of passing offense on bad mistakes, and that's like. If you take that away, obviously you can't just take that away and poof it away, even if Maddox is in there. But you take most of that away and you look at the Colts offense. Let's just say you take away 60 yards, right? Now the Colts offense, they've got 120 passing yards and 99 rushing yards. Does that look very good from an offense? No. Not particularly. And that looks like a great day from the defense. But I think that a lot of their production came on the side of Josiah Scott and McPherson stepping in for Maddox. And I think people really underrate how good Maddox is in the slot. You don't hear his name a lot. You don't see him do a whole lot. And that's, as I mentioned earlier this year, that's a great thing to have in a cornerback. You do not want to hear their names. And he does a good job of keeping his name out of people's mouths because he just does his job.
Hey, Bradbury and Slay get all the fame, and especially Slay, but like he's always been there stepping up, and like in a slot, and that's where I'm going to go to our next concern. I don't know if you want to get in the Packers game yet, but I just think they're going to target guys in the slot. It's like sad. I mean, it's not sad, but we just got to step up. We got. I'm
not the only person noticing that the difference that that Maddox makes. Like it was clear that they were targeting Josiah Scott in this game.
Scott looks small.
Would you want, if you were an opposing team and you had a choice between Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Josiah Scott, who would you pick to go after all game? I
think he's
tight end against linebackers and that slot receiver against Josiah Scott.
Dude, he's 5'9". He's my height. Like it's not like he's not like any. He's short. Like it's in the NFL. Like even you have a 6'2" receiver, he just doesn't look great out there. That's their only hole in the defense right now, honestly.
It's been hurting
playing great. I wanted to read that stat I sent you because that was a cool stat about TJ Edwards. Right now amongst linebackers in coverage, he's allowed the second. Jeez, sorry. He's allowed a 61% completion. Wait, what? I'm reading this wrong. Anyway, I'm just gonna read it wrong. Screw that stat. I apologize, but he's been great. Kazir White's been good.
The bottom line of what Masley sent me earlier is that TJ Edwards is leading linebackers in just about every coverage stat. He's in either first or second in just about every coverage stat, and he's been very underratedly solid at linebacker for the Eagles this year. He's having a season that's like, I remember watching Jordan Hicks, kind of emerge on the Eagles defense and everybody kind of being like, that Hicks guy is actually pretty good. And it's starting to seem very similar in an aspect towards TJ Edwards. And it kind of scares me because as much as I love our players playing great, it scares me in terms of trying to keep everybody together coming into next season, because that's something we haven't talked about yet. And we'll probably get into at the end of the season, but the Eagles are going to have to pay Jalen Hurts, which is massive to the cap space. You're going to have to pay CJ Edwards. You're going to have to pay James Bradbury. You're going to have to pay Kaiser White. You're going to have to pay TJ Edwards. You're going to have to pay Miles Sanders. There's so many people that we're going to have to pay for.
It's
going into this offseason.
Not going to be able to stay together.
It's going to be a lot to talk about going into the end of the season. But
so, hey, let's get into this Packers game, and let's get into the end of the game. How'd you feel about? I like Jalen putting on his back, and I don't know why they didn't stop the QB run. I don't understand what they were thinking. but it kept working and he kept doing it. So,
well, there's that actually happening gives me a little bit of an idea that they were really trying. They had a defensive game plan meant to shut down the run game, and it made me think when they got into that situation and didn't know how to stop the QB run, it looked like they had a game plan that they were sticking to, and they just couldn't cover every spot. It was like you had to game plan for Miles, you had to game plan for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, or you had to game plan for Jalen Hurts. And it looks like they kind of just didn't do that for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And they just, they just caught him off guard, I guess. We have a lot of ways we can attack different defenses, even when it doesn't look like we're producing a lot of offense.
No, but I was definitely happy to see Hurts get that tutty at the end. Did a little layup in the
Me too.
On the hip thrust in front of the mascot's face. Screw that guy.
Me too. But let's jump into the Packers game.
So Monday Night Football back at home. Remind you of anything? Monday Night Football back at home. Just kidding, guys. I'm not still angry about that.
Yes, he is. Very.
Commanders suck. How did they win?
Well, this is not going to be an easy game, especially not as easy as everybody thought it was going to be based off of the season that we've seen so far, because obviously the Packers have been iffy this year, all year. They still are, but we also just see them take it to the Cowboys and make over a 14-point comeback and beat them in the fourth quarter. And the Cowboys are a very good team. So, as much as the Packers aren't a good team and Aaron Rodgers might be old, they still got Aaron Rodgers over there. And that man can win you a game at any point of any point of the game, any point of the season. Doesn't matter how their team's doing. So it's definitely a scary game. I think that this is one that, we out-talent them once again. I could say that for every game, but this is one that I feel like we greatly out-talent them. But I think that it's a game that, it's going to come down to what we've been struggling with these past few weeks. Will we run the ball? Will we, adjust to the run defense, because they do have two very good running backs in their team? And, will we find a way to, shadow our coverages so that we're not just giving a wide open zone pick to Aaron Rodgers against Josiah Scott? Those are three things that are going to make those three things alone will make a big difference in the game.
Oh, huge. And going off that, I'm looking back at last game. The Titans I think the Packers, Matt LaFleur is not, I don't think he's a great coach, but I don't think he's a horrible coach either. I think they try to shut down one aspect. And I think we just have to adjust to whatever aspect that is. So for Derrick Henry last game, he only had 87 yards, but he ran the ball 28 times. They were trying to feed him the rock like the Titans do. And the Packers were able to shut him down. I just think that the Packers defense isn't good enough to handle a pass. If we versatile our offense, if we're just straight passing, they're going to shut us down. If we're not going to be ever straight running. So can we, like you said, establish the run? This is a horrible analysis I'm telling you right now. But the Titans were able to move the ball on them. Traylon Burks was able to get actual yards on his Packers team. I don't think the Packers are a good team. I think that Rodgers is going to retire this year, and he's an old man, and screw Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you're a little off on the retirement thing. He just signed a 5-year contract, but
go to sleep.
But I agree with you to an extent. I do think this team isn't very talented from top to bottom. I think they have some injuries. They're missing receivers. They're a little bit flustered all around. They just don't really have the full put together team right now. So this is a team that, once again, as always, we should beat. But this is a game that I am confident that the Eagles aren't going to look at and say, all right, this is an easy win here. They know they're playing Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and Green Bay is always liable to be a decent team. So I hope that they, just switch up the offense a little bit. That's all I really would like to see. I just want to see differences in the offensive play calling. I haven't seen a difference in the offensive play calling all year, and it's catching up to us. Teams now have 11 weeks of film on it, and it's showing. Teams are stopping our playbook, and we're not changing anything. This is the point where, we need to get down to it. Shane Steichen has to get creative and start using different plays. Run the ball, use the play action, pass it over the middle and outside, use double moves on the outside. Like I said the other weekend, now you've been seeing I've been pointing it out all year. You've been seeing 8 weeks of A.J. Brown getting clean, easy slant routes for 8 to 15 yards. And now teams are starting to adjust to it, and they're starting to bite hard on it and make sure that he doesn't get those slant routes. And they're giving him space to make sure they can react to it. Now you got to use that, like I said last week, use double moves. Like, see what the defense is doing. I know they watch film. Like, I know they see these things. Like, make the adjustments. All season I've been unaware why they are terrible at making adjustments. They're a great team, and they just refuse to make big adjustments, and I don't get it.
I don't understand it either. I don't understand why. I don't know if it's Sirianni or Steichen, but they're just going away from.
Doesn't do any of the play calling.
I know he doesn't do any of the play calling, but he's creating the game plan. He can go over to Steichen at any time and say, "We need to establish this time." Yeah. But so I still have to blame him because he's the head. He's the boss man. I can't blame the guy getting out, even though he is. It's his job. But going into this week, this is going to be our toughest 5-game stretch of the year. We have obviously Green Bay, Tennessee, away at the Giants, Chicago, whatever they are, and then we're at Dallas. So these 5 games are going to determine how, one, our seeding is, if we're going to be the number 1 overall seed, and 2, what do we want to look like going into the playoffs? Because after that, I mean, obviously it's week 17 by that point, but we're going to play New Orleans, and then if depending what we do, we might rest our guys against the Giants. So this is the entire season right here. I know the turning point was Washington. See if we could establish that, but this lock in and focus for these 5 games. I don't even care about I don't even care about the last game of the season because I think we'll have a good enough record. But I'm hoping that we can start this run off right now and really good on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, no, these games will probably give me a good idea of how real this team is, and I'm excited to see it because I still, no matter whether they do it or not, I told you at the beginning of this episode, I'm still confident that they have one of the most talented rosters in the league, if not the most talented roster in the league.
They definitely do.
Everything that they have been doing wrong so far is very easily fixable. My concern is whether they are going to be aware enough to fix it. I would hope so. But so far, we haven't seen them adjust those things, that's what scares me. So we're going to get to see, whether this team can, excuse my language a little bit, but nut up or shut up. If they're really this team that they've built themselves into. Like, these are the challenges. We're going to face the tough run defenses, the good quarterbacks, the divisional games, the divisional race. If we lose those 2 games to the Giants and Cowboys, that divisional race is close. So we got to be on our game. We got to be playing our best football, and that's hard to say coming off our 3 worst football weeks of the year. So I'm hoping that they can, one of these weeks we will see that turnaround. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm hoping it's this one.
No, I do too. And just looking at the schedule, I'm looking back at it. We honestly haven't faced many good quarterbacks like throughout the season. And no matter as long as Aaron Rodgers is in the league, he's going to be a top 15. He's going to be a top half of the league quarterback. I don't care how he's playing. He can at any time be a top 3 quarterback. He has the talent to be. And I'm not saying it'll allow.
He'll never be outside the top 10 quarterbacks in the league.
He shouldn't be. But sometimes he plays like it. But it's not his fault because he's trying to throw it down the field and drops and whatever you want. But this is the first. I think this is the first quarterback. If you want to count Kirk Cousins, Kyler in the top 10, I don't. This is the first quarterback that we have to actually worry about him throwing on and see if our secondary is going to hold up. Now, I'm not afraid of the receivers too much. I know Christian Watson's been hot. I know Alan Lazard's been decent, Tunyon, whatever. They're just like mid receivers, but it's Aaron Rodgers. And this is, I think, the biggest test. And you mentioned their run game that they have. They have to use the run game because the line's what hasn't been holding up as well. But Aaron Rodgers is here, and I want to see how our secondary does against him because I know he's going to throw it on us. And I know our secondary is good, but they have to be ready for him.
I'd have to agree. So, we got this game coming up Monday night at home. Hopefully they can get some revenge for the Washington game that they disgraced at home on Monday night. So we will see. But with all that being said, let's jump into our picks. And for this week, we're going to do a little bit of a special, being Thanksgiving week. Got a little bit of a Thanksgiving slate. So we're just going to run our picks in the Thanksgiving slate. All our games are coming on Thanksgiving. I'll post it on the social media tomorrow for you guys to see if you guys want to ride with us. So let's get into it. Mazda, let's hear your picks.
So to start off the week, it's Bills-Lions at 12:30. I love Thanksgiving. You smell it in the morning, play a little football, go with your family, sit down, and just get to watch these games all day. But
Thanksgiving's such a vibe. I love it.
12:30 start. I know they get on the West Coast all the time at like I guess 10. That's too early. Whatever. Anyway, this. I'm thinking about Thanksgiving too early. This is Bills-Lions. The Bills are 9-point favorites. I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking the Bills all day long. I think they're a better team, better roster. Akuda's out for the Lions, and I think the Bills establish that they're back to being a top echelon team and don't struggle anymore. My next pick is going to be the Giants plus 10. I'm taking them plus 10 because when the line first opened, it was 7. The look-ahead line. Then the Giants proceeded to lose to the Lions, and the Cowboys decided to massacre the Vikings, and it moved up 3 points. And everyone's betting on them. They think they're the best team ever to exist. You do too, but I think it's a divisional game.
Stop it. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say those words again. I hate to admit when the Cowboys are good, but when I break it down, player by player, we're only slightly better. They're a good team. You got to give them at least some credit. But go back to your picks. Go back to your never call me out like that again. Thank you very much.
I hate the Cowboys organization. I hate Jerry Jones. Giants plus 10. Last game of the night, the end of nightcap. It's Patriots-Vikings in Minnesota. I think that the Patriots defense overwhelms this Vikings team, and not that I think they have any offense, but the Patriots defense is good, and Michael Judon will carry them to victory somehow.
All right, not bad. So for my picks, I'm going to start with the Bills-Lions game, and I'm taking the opposite side, and I'm actually going with the Lions plus 9 versus the Bills. I'm not 100% sure whether the Lions can pull this game out from the Bills. I do not think they're a better team than the Bills, but the way things have been trending lately, I think that they have a chance to cover the spread at the very least. They've been putting up a lot of points. They did so against the Giants last week, and they've been doing so all season. They have one of the highest points per game in the NFL. And they're going against this Bills team that has been struggling the past few weeks, just like the Eagles have. They've been in a slump. Allen's been throwing a lot of picks. He's got that hurt elbow a little bit, whether that's taken a factor or not. But I just think things happen to line up for this game to be a lot closer than people think it's going to be. For my second pick, I'm going to be going with the Giants plus 10 versus the Cowboys as well. I think that line is too high. I think people, as Masley said, are a little too high on the Cowboys. I have not changed my opinion on them. I've felt the way I have about them the entire time. And that being said, I do not think that they're light years ahead of the Giants. And 10 points is a big line. So I think that the Giants can cover that spread whether they win or not. And going into my third pick, I'm going to take the Vikings minus 2.5 versus the Patriots. This one was a little bit more of a toss-up than a lot of people would like to say. The Vikings are definitely the favorite. They've only lost 2 games. They're a good team. But I do think that they have some, if they stay stagnant and early on in the game, they really tend to stay stagnant for the entirety of the game. They're a hot or cold team. And, that worries me with the Patriots defense because they do have a good defense. So I think this game is going to be a close one. But in general, I do think that the Vikings have a better roster. They've been playing better for the most part this year, obviously, due to their record. And I just think that they can pull this one out. 2.5 isn't too big of a line. So I'm just going to stick with the favorite, stick with my gut and go with the Vikings.
Kirk Cousins primetime, Matt.
Oh, I forgot that was primetime. Crap. The pick is made already. It is what it is. But
all right, I wanted to apologize for calling out Matt. We had a discussion the other night, and I just hate hearing anything good about the Cowboys. I know they're a really good team, and they probably are the second best team in the NFC. This is an ongoing argument. I did not mean to call you out, buddy. I really just don't like anything. I don't like anything
to go against my Eagles repertoire.
I can't say they're good at anything. I have to say any team's better than them because I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys.
So do I. So do I, Maz. But we'll see. Come the end of this year, I think we're going into the Cowboys and we're showing them some revenge for last year. But that's a little ways away. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get there soon. But
all right, this has been another good episode. Happy to talk with Maz about this stuff. Happy to hear from you guys again. See you guys. So we got the game coming up on Monday. Late. What is it? 8:15.
Yeah, 8:15. No, it's on Sunday night.
Sunday night.
8:30. Prime time.
You've been saying Monday Night Football this whole time.
I've been saying Sunday. I compared it to a primetime game on.
You got me confused this whole
time. I'm sorry. I know. I tried to say it earlier, but because I was comparing it to the Monday night game of the Commanders. That's where I screwed you up.
But, all right, so we're coming back Sunday night with a game. The Eagles will be back versus the Packers at home. We're hoping for a W. But in the meantime, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy some football. And let's hope we see a Cowboys loss because we would all like to see that. That would be a nice Thanksgiving present.
That'd be cool. Even though it's against the Giants, they have the same record. So, but yeah,
I have a lot. I'd much rather see the Cowboys lose than the Giants. To be honest,
definitely, 100%, especially at my dinner table.
Exactly.
Be great.
So, all right, happy holidays. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you guys again next week for another update. Coming back with another W, hopefully.
Yes, sir. Go Birds.
Go Birds.